Okay, continuing on, Mike with New Bedford Guide. We're here with Kate Towers for Ward 5, and she's going to tell us why you should elect her for City Council.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Kate Towers, and I am running for Ward 5 City Councilor. This is my first run for a political office. I do have a little experience in my background. In the 90s, I worked in the legislature in New Hampshire for a period of time drafting bills, and I also worked in the Massachusetts Senate for approximately 3 years doing a variety of things. When I went to law school, I knew I wanted to learn how to communicate for people in a way that would help make their lives better. And so essentially I've made a career out of doing that, first as a lawyer working in representing people in the criminal defense realm and also in family law. And I've always felt that any position I was in, that it was most important that I communicate effectively for those who are putting their trust in me. And that's what I would hope to do as a Ward 5 City Councilor. I've lived in the ward for a number of years now. The city itself has given to me tremendously. When I came here in 2003 and opened my own law practice, it was just a wonderful environment. I felt instantly welcomed and supported by the people in the community and in the legal community. And so this is in essence an opportunity for me to try to give back in some way to a city that's really meant an awful lot to me. I would also just touch on some of the issues that I think are the ones that are critical to Ward 5 members and, of course, residents throughout the wards, really. But one of the issues that I think concerns people the most is taxes and how the tax dollars that they're paying, how they are being used and allocated, and whether or not anything can be done to lessen the burden that they all carry. Certainly in Ward 5, there are not a lot of businesses. Even throughout the city, I think we could have more business opportunities so that ultimately some of the tax burden could be taken up by commerce, committing tax dollars to the overall burden. I think that small business help is essential. Being a small business person myself, I know how hard it is to get started, and I want to see and continue to see those opportunities available for people in the city. I think a lot has happened in that realm. A lot of people have contributed a lot of time and talent to the downtown area, and that's obviously an area where things have grown, and we're obviously known for a number of industries already, including obviously the fishing industry, medical services, things of that nature. But I do think we need to continue to draw new business, more cutting edge perhaps, more e-commerce, things along those lines that will provide well-paying jobs to people who live in the city and the surrounding area. I think by increasing that tax base, we can help the individual taxpayers hopefully see some assistance. Beyond that, I know also that people are very concerned about the crime rate in the city of New Bedford. As someone who does a lot of representation in the criminal courts, I certainly know what people are saying when they make reference to that. I think that obviously at this point that the New Bedford police are I feel they're doing a tremendous job. I think there are some things more that they could do, and I think that they continue to strive to do those. I know that the new chief has put an emphasis on strengthening community policing. In other words, the beat cop person who is in the neighborhoods, getting to know the people who live there, and eventually garnering their assistance in anticipating and catching those who've been involved in in crimes in the city. And then I guess just the last thing I would raise is that the school system, I think, is one that people are very concerned about. I do talk to people in Ward 5 who are thinking about and have moved out of the area because they are concerned about the quality of schools. So that's something that I also think that the city council needs to, to the extent they are able, help the school system provide a better product to those students in the city.
Okay, so Len Roberts asked whether you studied the proposed new industrial park at the Welland City Golf Course, and what's your position on it?
You know, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a positive. I think that people are somewhat concerned about how it was presented as sort of a fait accompli, but I do think that any opportunity to bring vibrant new business to the area is something that's going to benefit all of us.
Okay, Kaya Madeira asks, how do you feel about people using the save spots during snow? You know when people put the chairs out because they shoveled it?
Yes.
They think, she says it can escalate into violent retaliation sometimes. You know, you shovel out your car, you head to work, come back, and someone's in your spot. Do you think people should be able to save their spots with chairs and stuff?
I understand that the issue pretty well because when I was younger, I lived in South Boston, and that was a chronic problem because it was all on-street parking, and there were great lengths that people went to. You know, obviously, confrontations are not necessary and shouldn't happen. I think that the practice of saving spaces is where things begin to escalate, and so I would just suggest that people follow the city's recommendations as to parking during those critical times, and that make your position known, but there's certainly no need to escalate further beyond that.
Okay, so Carl asked something we've asked everyone here, which is, what are the biggest concerns for Ward 5?
I think that Ward 5 is, they are concerned about the property tax rate. I talk to people quite often who have, and especially recently, they're getting new assessments and they're kind of surprised by the fairly large jumps in their bills. That is something that I think is incumbent upon the city council and city government to at least explain as well as possible why those expenditures are necessary, why those rates are going up, and not just where the money's going, but why. Beyond that, I do think that there are some concerns about, there have been apparently some concerns. There are a couple of sober houses in the ward. There have been some issues, which, in having spoken with with Kerry Winterson, he said that there were some issues that came up there. I think you just need to be vigilant about that. I think, you know, those enterprises need to be good neighbors, and we just need to keep the lines of communication open.
So what about New Bedford overall? What's the biggest issue facing the city?
I think the biggest issue really at this point is taxation. Well, let me come back a little bit. Maybe I don't really mean taxation. What I really mean is a continued focus on economic development. Because I think that a lot of the issues that we are concerned about crime, about education, about, you know, people leaving the city for other opportunities, is because we don't have enough economic opportunity to keep people wanting to live here, wanting to be productive members of the community, because they don't see this as a place of opportunity. Now, obviously, we've made tremendous strides, so I'm not trying to say that, you know, that there's nothing positive that's going on in New Bedford. There's a ton of positive things, but I think that's something that we need to remain mindful of, and to the extent that we can encourage people to locate larger business enterprises here and provide even, I'd like to see more job training, more apprenticeship opportunities. things like that, so that people who are here, who don't feel that there's a path toward a fulfilling life here, will realize that there are ways that they can become more productive members of the community.
Okay, so we're gonna end it with a final question. So what's the best thing about New Bedford?
The best thing about New Bedford? Well, I like food, so I'm going to say the food is pretty darn good here. I have never been in a place where there have been so many great restaurants, from the Portuguese restaurants all the way to the more traditional ones. But aside from that, I really think it's there's a spirit here that is just tremendously welcoming, accepting, and supportive. And I know that maybe that sounds crazy, but that's what brought me here in 2003, and that's why I stayed. Because I think that there's just a spirit here that can't be diminished, and that's why I see us being able to move forward in really meaningful ways if we can harness that group strength to move forward.
Okay, so there's a few questions out there. You can go back and answer if you'd like later on Facebook.
Okay.
This was Ward 5 candidate Kate Towers. Up next, we have Maria Giesta for Ward 2. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.